we did a poll on Instagram the other day, and over 100 people said that they suffer with their relationship with their skin, with habits around skin, language used around skin, things like picking, scratching, squeezing, and also looking for things that aren't necessarily there. The general consensus was that Instagram makes everyone feel worse. I really think that the filters don't help. We shared a statistic that fillers and injectables, the demand for fillers, injectables, and injectables have gone up by 40% since lockdown. And I don't have a problem with any of these things like injectables or wanting to improve skin. Of course, it's the feelings behind it, the kind of anxiety surrounding it. This is something that in our practice we see a lot. It's something that me and the girls talk about a lot. It's something that we all suffer with a lot. I think that people's relationship with their skin is really complicated, and I think that it's often kind of pushed to one side by a lot of people that you would ask for help, which can kind of create even more, it just becomes like a perpetuating cycle of anxiety. You don't like what's going on with your skin, you're trying to fix it, in turn you're doing like harmful things that might be harming it, and it just becomes a cycle that so many of us have been stuck in. So I'm taking today something that I learned in nutritional therapy, which is, and I'm applying it to skin, it's surrounding this cycle of stress, cycle of anxiety. So in nutrition, we talk a lot about like cycles. There'll be a trigger that sets off. So for example, if you're talking about insomnia or stress or panic attacks, there'll be a trigger that sets off this cycle. You'll be in kind of the acute phase of it, and then maybe there'll be like some kind of harmful practices afterwards. Then you'll have a moment of peace, and then it might start again. I see that happening a lot with skin. And we talk about where the easiest part of the cycle is going to be to break, and that'll be different for everyone because different people find different things easy. So it's just acknowledging where it is for you. So where you think will be the very easiest place to start making changes that you can stick to try and replace some of these harmful habits with positive habits that will result in like lovely results, and it'll make you want to keep doing them more. It'll be like positive reinforcement. So I know they say it takes 28 days to build a habit. So if this is something that you are struggling with, I'd like to encourage you to make a 28-day commitment to yourself to try and make some of those changes. And or some of the changes that we're going to talk about. And if you fall down on one day or 2 days or a week, don't beat yourself up about it. It's okay. There's always going to be another 28 days. You can start again and start to try and reinforce them and bring them in again. So the way that I normally work on this with my clients is recognizing when it's happening. Sorry, I feel like I'm looking at a kind of strange place because I've actually got a little list in front of me, which I don't normally do, but I didn't want to forget anything. So recognizing when these kind of habits and actions are happening. So I'm just going to take like picking and squeezing as an example because I think it's quite common and it's quite a tangible physical thing. So if you know that this is something that you do when you are, after you cleanse your skin to go to bed, and you know that you do your cleanse, maybe you're feeling a little bit like anxious or wound up from the day, you've got this moment of time and you really focus on looking for the bad. You spend a lot of time like trying to find things to pick and squeeze, perhaps things that aren't even there, or things that are there if you do have any breakouts. I'm sure that everybody knows that, has noticed in themselves that when you do it, it doesn't make it any better, and you can kind of go into a bit of a trance. And I am so prone to this. I've always been a picker, I've always been a squeezer, and I think that I have definitely managed to curb it a bit, but you know, it still creeps back and it never leads to anything good. So looking for something to pick, squeeze, going into a bit of a trance, taking a step back and being like, oh my God, what have I just done to my skin? Like, why did I do that? Can I go back in time and change it? So recognizing when it happens and what is happening is kind of the first step. Then I think it's good to kind of slow it all down and think, what was I trying to achieve by doing this? Like, was I trying to make my skin better? Was I punishing myself? Was I bored? Was I just like wanting to do something to my skin, and this is what it ended up doing? So once you kind of figure out when it's happening, what the triggers are, so whether it's like looking in the mirror or the mag mirror or coming in from work, or I mean, we don't go to work anymore, but waking up in the morning, getting out of the shower, recognizing like what the triggers might be for you. Is it a certain I've heard clients say like they have a mirror in the hallway and the light is really horrible, and that leads to them kind of picking and squeezing. So identifying when it's happening, what's triggering it, and what you're trying to achieve, and then trying to break those patterns. So if you know that it happens every evening after cleansing, can you pre-plan something to stop you from doing that? So instead of picking and squeezing, do you just need to leave immediately after cleansing? Or can you have something pre-prepared, like a little night mask or a hydrating mask? What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to cleanse the skin, do a deeper cleanse of the skin? Can you have a salicylic acid there waiting immediately, and know that by applying that as an overnight treatment, it's going to be doing the work for you? It's going to be achieving what you wanted to achieve. If you are someone like me that just needs their hands to be occupied, and if they don't have jobs, they start like picking and scratching and doing bad things, is there anything else that you can keep your hands busy with? Or anyway, so something that I like to use is the LED mask before bed, just because it means that I literally cannot physically get to my skin. Do you need to mix up a mask? Is there, you know, can you do like a double cleanse instead? Or do you just need to remove yourself from completely from that situation and have things that you do before bed, like keeping your hands busy, such as journaling, or perhaps doing a meditation instead? I'm not going to say that this is going to work every single time, because it's not, but it may mean that instead of kind of picking, squeezing, scratching, or having the negative self-talk, or, you know, having these habits that reinforce a bad feeling and do something like harmful to the skin, perhaps instead of that being every night or every other night, it could be once a week. And eventually it starts to get less and less until you don't feel the need really to do it anymore. Going back to negative self-talk a little bit, I'm just checking that no one has said anything. If anyone has any questions or wants to add anything in the chat at any point, please do. Back to negative self-talk a little bit. I think that this is of the same vein, it's just manifesting in a slightly different way. So again, recognizing the things that make you feel bad. So some of the feedback that we got on the poll that we did was that seeing the Instagram filters and all of the very curated and edited streams of influencers and bloggers and vloggers and everything like that makes people feel worse about themselves, or makes them feel that they are, you know, different, that no one else's skin looks like theirs, no one else has pores, no one else has lines, no one else has blemishes. This is something that we hear so often from our clients, and honestly, it breaks my heart when people are suffering and they're like, I feel like I'm the only person in the world. And we've seen 6 people that day that are saying the exact same thing. And I think the standards around skin, with filters, with filler, with Botox, with makeup, with airbrushing, has given people an idea that if their skin has any texture or different shades in different areas or breakouts, that something is bad. I have treated thousands and thousands of clients, and I can promise you that nobody's skin looks like those filters, not one person that I've ever seen. and I've seen thousands of skins, it is completely unrealistic. So I'm sure that you have had people saying like, unfollow these people if they make you feel bad about yourself. I actually thought it was really interesting because I'm so quick to slap a filter on just because I normally look a state and you don't always want to be so exposed to the world. But I do think it is just perpetuating this cycle of an unachievable idea. And I do think that they are quite, I mean, some of them are fun, but I do think that, you know, you're unconsciously absorbing it constantly, and it really reinforces the kind of idea like, oh, they look like that, but I look like this. So this is bad, but actually it's not. Texture is completely normal. Pigment is normal. Blemishes are normal. Breakouts are normal. Lines are normal. It's just what skin looks like. It's just how, and of course, that's not to say, you know, we're always working to like make skin happy and healthy, and it's normal to not love the dark circles under your eyes or whatever, but I think there's a difference between being like ugh and feeling truly anxious around it. So a couple of I'm going to share like 2 things that we kind of recommend. So one of them is having post-it notes on your mirror or wherever you do your skincare, that are reinforcing positive messages back to you about your skin. We're so the way that we talk to ourselves is a way that we would never talk to anyone in our wildest, like not to our worst enemies. So trying to, you know, reinforce those positive messages back. I encourage all of my clients, when they're doing their skincare, when they're looking in the mirror, focus on things that you love about your skin. And if you can't find anything, if you're having a really bad day, then do something nourishing for your skin. We need to think of our skin as like a little plant that needs to be nourished. It's not going anywhere. It belongs to us. I think too often we're wanting to like get rid of it or use harsh products to just get it off. It's not going to work. Trust me. I have tried in my time. We need to treat it with love and kindness and compassion and use kind language around it, because anything else is not serving, it's not serving our skin and it's not serving our minds. So I like to try and encourage my clients, if it resonates with them, in the evening or in the morning when they're doing their skincare routine, just pick one thing that they're really pleased about. So one improvement that they've seen, one area of their skin that they're happy with. It can be anything, it can be anywhere on the body, it can be hair, it can be brows, something about yourself that you're feeling really happy with, and just focus on that for a minute or so while you're doing your skincare. A little bit of facial massage, focus on the good, because, you know, we hear the things that we want to hear, we believe the things that we want to believe. All of our clients are so gorgeous and so wonderful. It breaks my heart to see people being so harsh on themselves. So it is a choice. It is a choice to be kind to ourselves. Is there anything else that I want to say? Yeah, so if there are things that you are really, really suffering with in terms of your skin, speak to a professional, make sure that you're using the right skincare and doing the right kind of practices, and kind of commit to it. So know that by choosing to be consistent and continuous with your skincare regime, rather than getting fed up and like reaching for harsh products or picking or scratching or being mean, knowing that, like really making it so clear in your mind, like harsh products are going to do harm, good products are going to do good. Being consistent with a kind skincare routine is going to do good. Going back to picking, squeezing is going to be bad. I think my best piece of advice is, when you feel the urge, just leave the situation. Like, just have the strength to walk out of the room, go and do something else nice that's completely unrelated, because I think it's so easy to have those 5 or 10 minutes in the bathroom where you can really cause a lot of damage, and then you have to deal with the consequences for like the next week or 2 weeks. But yeah, those are my recommendations. Does anyone have any questions about that? Are they helpful? Are they unhelpful? Does anyone want to say anything? No, you guys are just listening quietly this morning. No problem. So we're going to move on to a little facial massage. The intention of this practice is about reinforcing positive and kind thoughts towards our skin. Positive practices that give our hands something to do that is going to nourish and heal the skin, working with the skin's natural ability to heal, cellular rejuvenation, cell turnover, encouraging microcirculation to the skin, bringing oxygen and nutrients, working with the lymphatic system that is the biggest detoxification system in the body, making our skin happy and healthy. Need to sort out my evening routine and stop it. Always look worse after. I know it's so hard. Like, I am such a picker by nature. I'm always looking for something to pick and scratch, even if it's not there. If you do have a magnifying mirror, get rid of it. Just get rid of it. No one sees your skin like that. It is a recipe for disaster. We see so many clients that have, you know, gorgeous skin, and they're like, I look at it magnified by 10 times and it's awful. And it's like, you're not supposed, like, nobody sees skin like that. It's okay for it to have pores and hairs and different pigment in different places. It's all normal. But yeah, picking will never make skin better. If it did, we would recommend it to everyone, but sadly it doesn't. I've looked up quite a lot about this, and I haven't found any studies that have been done, but I do really think that from, like, and I'm a beauty therapist, I'm not a psychologist. I think that from a psychological point of view, it is that thing. You do think you want to do something. The intention is good. You want to do something to make your skin better, but you know it's going to make it worse. And I do think that and it hurts. And I think that there is like a little element around, because when we feel pain, we have a release of endorphins. So I do think that there's kind of a link there. You're feeling bad, and you know afterwards your skin's not going to like you and it's not going to be calm and happy, but you've done something that is almost a little bit like, and I don't want to use the word self-harming because obviously that's not what this is, but it is something that you are inflicting a little bit of pain onto yourself. And I do think that there's a link there, that you get this little shot of endorphins afterwards. But yeah, put a barrier between you and your skin. Find a mask that can't do, and like, for example, the Olixia is launching, I think it's called a Centilla mask. It's just hydrating mask. It's not going to dry out the skin. It's not like particularly active. Pi have another good one. Like, they're basically just heavy moisturizers. They're lovely, but you can't really overuse them. Whenever I feel the urge to pick, I just slap a mask on. And, you know, if I'm having a particularly stressful or heavy, like, stress is a massive trigger for me. If I'm having a particularly stressful week, I might feel like I want to, every evening that week, just slap the mask on, just slap the LED mask on, get out of the situation, just leave, and the urge will go. It really will, within like 10-20 minutes. You just need to remove yourself from the situation and just give your hands something else to do. But it is, yeah. I was listening to someone and they were saying my friend going and swimming in the sea, and she said she's been doing it for 28 days, and now it's just so ingrained in her habit, and in her habits and her daily practices. And I was like, this is what we need to do with positive skin habits. 28 days to build a habit, 28 days to be kind to skin, 28 days to stop picking. So I'm interested to hear how you get on. Okay, moving on to a little bit of facial massage. Is there anything in particular that anyone would like to focus on this morning? Jaw. We can definitely do some jaw. Anything else? Okay, great. So if you'd like to apply your oil to your neck and face, I've been trying out a new brand. I don't know if any of you have ever tried them. Oyo. I'm really enjoying it. It's really nice. And we're just going to start using the flats of our hands, working down opposite sides of the necks, not strangling ourselves, using a light pressure. The pressure's in the fingertips, so actually working like this. It's just a bit easier to be like this. And we'll just stay here for a little bit. Sorry if I'm a bit snotty. We have had the flat fumigated and I've come up in a rash all over my chest. And I've been very bunged up since Monday, and I think it's because I inhaled too many fumes. Ah, dear. Wonderful. Taking some little fists, we're just going to work down these muscles that lay on the neck, these ones here that run from just behind the ear to the corner of the collarbone. Wonderful. Next, creating a little heart for self-love, and popping thumbs underneath the chin, using these fingers to do a little pinch and work out. With this practice, if you are suffering from any inflamed skin, broken skin, breakouts, just work around them. Nothing about this should hurt or feel painful. As always, as all skin practices. And when you're going through this practice, I think it's so easy. Polly told me that we're humanly conditioned to look for the bad, because when we were like hunter-gatherers, we needed to like look out for bad things like predators or danger. But now this is just, now that we don't have that, we're still like really conditioned to always look for the bad, look for the worst, look for something bad that's going to happen. So I want you to really focus on the good. Every little bit of skin that you feel that you are happy with. I think that we ignore, like, I get breakouts here and I'm obsessed, but actually, like, there's nothing here. Everything's fine. So just try and focus on the bits that you're happy with, any improvements that you've seen. And if you're finding it hard to find this, focus on how your skin could be if perhaps you took away those harmful practices. Think about if you feel that it's quite inflamed, sensitive, red, think about the things that you could do to calm it down. Maybe using like a little ice pack instead of picking, or maybe incorporating some anti-inflammatory ingredients, perhaps committing to doing a little bit more of a regular skincare practice. So incorporating your weekly mask or a couple of masks a week to focus on anything that you are not feeling so pleased with. Put a little plan in place. Wonderful. Next, coming out to the jaw. So we're going to start by just doing some little taps over the jaw. I'm just using fingertips. The jaw, the masseter, the jaw muscle that we're going to be working on, runs from just underneath the cheekbone to just under the jaw, and it's about this thick. That's it. So it's quite a big muscle. And we're just going to do some little taps. Tap, 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 tap over there. Wonderful. Slowing it down, I'm still just using fingertips. We're going to do some big circles over the jaw. Experiment with pressure. See how this feels for you. If you find any nice kind of little juicy spots and you want to apply a bit more pressure, definitely do. If you're finding this all very painful, then just use a nice light pressure. You're still doing good work. Really nice. Next, we're going to use first and third finger, these two fingers, second and third finger, to do a little walking man over the jaw. So we're going right from the top down to the jaw, covering the whole masseter muscle, this big muscle that runs from just underneath the cheekbone to just underneath the jaw. If you do suffer with any jaw tension, doing this as a little practice every evening, you spend a minute, is really, really helpful at releasing that tension that may, build up and lead to pain. Just definitely want to avoid that. Nice. And if you do find any little kind of bits that you're like, ooh, little tender bits, you can press and hold. And if you want it to be a little bit stronger, I don't know if I can hack it today, to be honest. If you want it to be a little bit stronger, you can use these little knuckles and press in, and that will feel much stronger. Make sure you're keeping a little bit of space between the top and bottom jaw, as we don't want to be contracting a muscle that you're trying to physically release. I know if it's painful, the natural reaction might be to clench your jaw. Try not to. And you can move these little bits of acupressure around all over the whole jaw, pressing and holding, taking some deep breaths. If it's all becoming too much for you, you can just release and go back to doing some nice nourishing circles. If you're not in the mood for feeling a little bit of pain, then you can just stick to nice things today. Wonderful. Really good. I'm going to show you a little bit of intraoral work as well. If you don't feel comfortable sticking your fingers in your mouth today, don't worry about it. This will be recorded for you to do in your own time if you want to try it out. So working intraorally is one of the best ways to release the jaw. If you've been to my other workshops, you've probably already seen me doing it before. I think you all have. Popping the thumb inside the cheek and working to massage both simultaneously inside and outside. Our next workshop is in 2 weeks' time, and it will be the full sculptural facelifting and intraoral routine, which is amazing for jaw. It's great for like sculpting and lifting, but it's also amazing for jaw release. So I'll just demonstrate. And you can see that a little bit of redness is happening because I really am pinching. I mean, don't hurt yourselves, but I really am giving it a pinch because it's not a particularly sensitive area, but of course, just use the pressure that feels most comfortable to you. And then just repeating on the second side. Wonderful. If you are going to practice this at home, I would really recommend making sure you have a little bit of oil on the skin. Okay, wonderful. Next, we're just going to work out from the corner of the mouth using fingertips. Really nice. Taking these two middle fingers, popping them here in the center of the nasolabial lines, the lines that run from the nose to the corner of the mouth. We're going to work diagonal up over the cheeks. Although I'm starting with fingertips, try and use as much kind of surface area of the fingertips as possible. When we're going up here, we're giving ourselves a little massage over the temples as well. And we'll stay here for a few breaths. And whenever you're doing any facial massage practice, gua sha practice, even applying skincare creams, I really encourage you to practice with a kind intention, thanking your skin for everything it does to keep us safe. It is part of our immune system. It keeps all of our organs inside. It does a really very, very important job. It's our first line of defense against the outside world. It's constantly up against all the elements, pollution, the cold, the central heating. It has a tough time. So whenever we're doing any skincare practices, we're treating it with love, with respect. And the areas that you don't feel most pleased with are the areas that you have to treat with the most love. Wonderful. Next, just placing fingers by the nose. We're just going to very lightly work out here underneath, work out towards the side of the face underneath the eyes. Again, using a gentle pressure, moving slowly. Working with kindness. Making a little promise to yourself that for 28 days, you're going to try and break the harmful habits and replace them with nourishing, kind habits. Habits that support the skin. Habits that are anti-inflammatory rather than pro-inflammatory. That help to heal skin rather than break skin. And just giving our skin the love and attention it deserves. Really nice. Next, taking these fourth fingers, we're going to place them underneath the eyes and just do some little semicircles back and forth. Keeping it nice and slow. Following the curve of the orbital bone. Working very lightly. The pressure that you use is just the weight of your finger. Closing down the eyes, we'll stay here for 5 more breaths. A wonderful area to work if you're feeling a bit stressed, you've been having quite a lot of screen time. If you've been struggling with sleep at all. Wonderful. Next time we come back to the center, we're going to work up over the brows with a much heavier pressure and come light back under the eyes. Hard pressure up over the brows and light pressure under the eyes. And we'll repeat this a few times. Taking it nice and slow. Can you go any slower? Make sure that you're staying nice and light underneath the eyes. Noticing any tender bits. Just following the natural path of the orbital bones. Wonderful. Taking palms of the hands, we're going to start by working up the nose and over the third eye. Trying to use as much surface area of the flats of the hands as possible when you're coming up over the brow, over the forehead. And again, we'll stay here for a few breaths. Once more reinforcing that promise to ourselves that for 28 days, we're going to be replacing the negative, harmful habits with the kind, nourishing practices that we have discussed today. Recognizing triggers and trying to stop them before they happen. Removing anything that makes us feel worse about ourselves. Unfollowing any Instagram accounts that we compare ourselves to. And speaking to ourselves with kind, loving language, the language that we all deserve. Really nice. Now coming to stroke up the brow. Stretching out those frontalis muscles. Using as much surface area as possible to keep it nice and nourishing. This is a really lovely one to do in bed at night. If you're doing a little bit of skincare then, if you want to get away from the mirror. Wonderful. Now just coming to find the third eye with this third finger. And we're going to go through a little facial reflexology practice. So we're going to stay here for a minute, 60 seconds, doing very, very little light circles over the third eye. Inhaling for 4 and exhaling for 4. Closing down the eyes. Focusing on the feeling of touch over the third eye. Could your circles be any slower? Could they be any smaller? Could you use a lighter pressure? Really nice. Just a few more breaths here. Slowing down that circle as much as possible. Wonderful. Now we're going to repeat, just moving up about an inch to the center of the forehead, closing down the eyes, and spending a minute working on this little reflex point. These points are great for anxiety, working on the calming down the central nervous system, reducing elevated cortisol in the body. Can you make those circles any smaller? Could you make them any slower? And if you feel your mind wandering, come back to the feeling of the touch on the skin. Make sure that you're keeping those inhalations and exhalations nice and deep and even. Wonderful. Really nice. Next, taking both our fingers, we're going to place them directly under the pupil on the orbital bone, and we're just going to press and hold for about 5 breaths. Inhaling for 4 and exhaling for 4. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Wonderful. Coming just underneath the nose, we're going to do some little static circles here, closing down the eyes. We'll stay here for a few breaths. And exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Wonderful. Moving to the corners of the mouth. Little static circles. Closing down the eyes. And we'll stay here for a few breaths. And exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Final point in the little dip in the chin, in the center of the mouth, underneath the center of the nose. We're just going to stay here for about a minute, doing very slow, gentle, static circles. All of these little points are to promote balance and to calm down the mind. Also quite a nice way to keep busy, active hands busy. Another 30 seconds here. Just working into that point with your little circles. Can you make them any slower? Really nice. Taking flats of hands, we're going to just work out. Oh, it's not really flats of hands, sorry. Making like a kind of triangle. We're just going to work out towards the side of the face, keeping it nice and slow. Using a light pressure. Kind of pressing up with the heels of the hands once the fingers reach the outside of the face. Really nice flats of the hands to work out across the brow. Just nice calming strokes. Not working hard to lift or tone or do anything too active. Just nice, comforting, calming strokes. There's definitely a power in self-massage I think we've all had to find in the past year. Next, taking fingertips, we're just going to work into those temples a little bit. So your temples are your kind of soft bits here. You'll feel them as you come off the forehead. Just doing some big circles in here. And we'll stay here for a minute or so. Really wonderful for a busy mind, an active mind. Just to remove some of the tension that gathers in these muscles if we've been feeling a little bit stressed. With any of these in self-practice, you can spend as long in any of these areas as you like, and you will be doing good. Calming down the central nervous system, relaxing the body, which in turn is anti-inflammatory for skin and for other important organs like, your heart as well, but we're focusing on the skin today. Really nice. Next, creating some little peace fingers with your peace signs with your fingers. We're just going to run them up and down the ears, either side of the ears, behind and in front of the ears. Still keeping it nice and slow, working with a kind intention. Noticing if your face feels any different from when you began. Wonderful. And just finishing on the neck in the same way we started. So using fingertips to work down the side of the neck. Really nice. So we're just going to finish with a quick little bit of hand reflexology. So if you have put something on your skin, like a mask or your LED if you have one, or whatever or you just don't want to touch your face, you're trying to stay away from it, you're feeling a bit stressed about it, you want something for your hands to do, this is a nice little practice. You can also do it anywhere because you don't need an oil or a massage medium, and it's hands on hands, so you don't need to be in a very clean environment necessarily. So we're just going to start. You can use whichever hand you want, pinching the top of the thumb, and we're just going to do some circles into the top part of the thumb. So all of the tips of the fingers and the thumb represent the head, our mind. So this is really wonderful if you are feeling that your mind is very, very full. And with this practice as well, I recommend focusing on the good. If your mind feels very busy, you can focus on the touch, the feeling of the touch on your thumb. Notice the pressure that you're using, the speed you're going at. Are you really rushing through? Can you slow it down at all? Are you still breathing? Wonderful. Moving on to the top of the first finger. Keeping those breaths nice and deep. Really nice. And moving on to the third finger. You can see where this is going. Keeping your circles as slow as possible. If you feel any little crunchy bits or tender bits, you can work a little bit more into them. In reflexology, you're working on the nerve endings, as all our nerves end and start in our face, hands, and feet. So you're stimulating nerve endings in order to soothe and calm the area. Soothe and calm the reflex point that this relates to, which in this case is the mind. We've moved on to the fourth finger. And finishing with your little finger. Experimenting with pressure, seeing what feels good for you. Ignoring the sirens that we hear constantly and trying to keep that feeling of calm with you. The final point that we're going to do is just here in the center of the hand. So if this is the kind of bony knuckly bit, it's just underneath there. And we're going to do some circles over that reflex. So this solar plexus, you can do it like this if it feels more comfortable. The solar plexus, so they say this is where all of the nerve endings meet. It's like our center. So wonderful for anxiety. This also represents the diaphragm. So underneath the ribs, which if we are feeling kind of stressed, can all become a little bit tight. Breathing can become shallow. So this is a wonderful point to work, and make sure those deep breaths are going into your belly, that you're giving your body the oxygen, the nourishment that it needs, keeping everything nice and relaxed. Wonderful. You can finish by giving your wrists a little bit of a roll out, a little bit of a shake. We can do some tapping across the chest. I always like to end my practices like this. Taking some nice deep sighs out. And you're all done. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, everyone. Do you have any questions for me at all? This will be saved and put up on Skin Society if you want to refer back to any of the tips we went over. I Really? Oh, thank you. I really hope that some of the things we discussed resonate with you and that you see some good results from them. I look forward to hearing how you all get on over the next 28 days. And I hope to see you in the next workshop, which is on the 20th of February, which will be a lot more stimulating about lifting and toning and releasing muscles. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Take lots of care and hope to see you soon. Bye.